Today we're going to be changing the cap and rotor out on the distributor. We'll just go ahead and take that out of the way. And that gives you a little bit more room to work with. There's the 4-barrel quadrajet. But we're going to replace this cap and the rotor underneath of it here. The first crucial step before you even touch the cap is identify which plug wire is number 1. And luckily here on the Oldsmobile big block or even small block, or even I really think any GM application, they're labeled on the intake ports all the way down the sides of the engine. So I know by looking at this intake, number 1 is right there, and that's the plug wire I need to identify for the cap. And the purpose of that is so it'll be wired appropriately starting from 1, and Oldsmobile goes counterclockwise, and regular GM applications go clockwise. What I'm going to do now is trace this wire back to the distributor. And it appears this is number 1. So now what we're going to do is unplug all the wires from the cap. Once you get all the plug wires out of the way, next what you want to do is unplug the hot battery wire, the tack wire, and the coil wires. All right, once you got all those connections unhooked from the coil itself, next we're going to remove the distributor cap itself, which is 4 J-hook screws on the front and back. Again, all you need for this is just a big flat screwdriver. And you just twist to the left on the front and then on the back too. Once the distributor cap J-hook screws are all loosened, they're spring loaded, so they should look like this when you loosen them. And you should just be able to take the cap, pick it up, and lift straight up off there. Then once the cap's off, this is your rotor here, and on big block Oldsmobile, it's held down with 2, I believe, 1/4 inch little screws. So I just got a screwdriver here that's this size. And it's going to spring a little bit. And they won't fall out. You'll just loosen it and then pick it up off there and just note the direction that you took it off. What I'm going to do first is dissect the old one. So here's the old one here. And basically you just need a Phillips screwdriver to take the top cap off of the actual distributor cap. So once you got the 3 screws removed, this piece should separate and come up off there. And as you can see, this cap is now removed, and this is where your coil lives. And it's got all the contacts right here. So what I'm going to do first is remove the ground wire here with the eyelet. Once that's removed, just set it off to the side. And now your ground wire is free. So what we're going to do next here is just pull the contacts out of the top of the cap with long needle nose pliers. Just easily pull them out. Be careful not to pull the wire out of the coil. So they should just pop up out of there. Those were a little bit snug in there, but I think the wires are okay. Once you got those contacts pulled up out of there, you're just going to take your Phillips screwdriver, take the remaining coil screws out, and set those off to the side. Once you got them removed, you should be able to take the coil and start lifting it straight out. Once the coil's out, you can see the grounding bar that was sitting below it. All you need to do is just take your needle nose pliers, pop that out, and set it to the side. You'll reuse that. So we're just going to go ahead and build our new cap with the parts that we pulled out. So the first thing that we're going to do is take the ground bar, put it down on the distributor cap, just like that. Maybe take a screwdriver and just this, make sure it's all seated down properly. Get the grounding bar, bus bar back down in there. What you can do now is insert the little spring-loaded contactor with the insulator bushing for underneath the coil. So here's your little rubber bushing. And then this is your little spring-loaded contactor. So basically you just drop that straight down into the cap like so. And this might be a little bit tedious, but then you're just going to drop the insulator down through the spring and it'll set in the bottom. And this is what the coil will set on and make contact here. So once you got that all assembled down in there, you can take the coil, and it may take some finessing, but sometimes they drop right down in there. The coil will set right back down on the top of the cap like so. Once the coil's down in there, what you're going to do now is hook your ground wire back up. So there's a bare spot on the coil over here. You're just going to put that grounding wire eyelet underneath this screw. Always hold it away just a little bit so it doesn't make contact with the coil itself and ground itself out somehow. So I just get that snug. So now you can see this wire's just up and over the hot. And what you're going to do now is take the contacts for the positive side, slide them down in. I always just use a screwdriver. Then I should go down there like that. So now all that stuff is snug back down inside where it should be. Now what we're going to do is reinstall the remaining hold down screws for the coil. So I got the 3 in here I just dropped down in, so now we're just going to tighten them down with a screwdriver. Once that's complete, we're going to put our top cap back on that just had the 3 little screws, Phillips screws, to hold it down and enclose the coil within the top of the cap. So it should just fit like that. So now what we're going to do, we're just going to tighten those screws that I hand started back down in here to hold this very top cap on to the top of the distributor cap. So now we're going to take our new rotor that we got, and we're going to reinstall it to the distributor before we put our new cap on. And if you remember, it was pointed this way when I took it off. So there's some threaded holes here where this bolts down to. So basically you just got to drop it down on and use your screwdriver to guide it. So the key here is you just want to do this evenly on both sides when you start tightening it down. So a couple turns here and a couple turns here. So that way this evenly seats down over the distributor. I got my new cap here. All the J-hooks are facing outward, and we're going to put it back on there the way that we took it off. So you'll just set it down on, and you should feel it seat. So next what we're going to do is tighten the J-hooks where we just press them down and lock them so it keeps tension down the cap and it don't vibrate or come loose. So we'll do it for the front side here. You got to do it for the back as well, but you just push down, rotate around, and the cap did move just slightly. So we're going to push down and lock this side. And now we'll do the back as well. So once you got the cap all nice and seated and locked down with the locking J-hooks, then you can reconnect your coil wires, your tack, and your hot battery wire. All right, once you got those connections plugged back in, now you can start rewiring the spark plug wires from number 1 in the correct firing order. Like I said, big block olds is counterclockwise, so I know this is number 1 from the old cap. So once you get all the wires plugged back in, it should look like something like this. And like I said, this is number 1, and it goes counterclockwise, and the firing order is 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2 for big block olds. All right, so everything's buttoned back up. We got the cap with the plug wires back on it. Got the air cleaner back on it. So let's see if this thing fires up.